Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this episode of the podcast. And thank you, everyone who downloaded our first episode, or our third episode, technically. It was a really positive outcome and somewhat surprising. We had no idea how many people were going to be interested and tune in. On this episode, we have an old friend of mine, Jordan Lucas, who's an up-and-coming MMA fighter who's recently signed for ONE FC. We also have his trainer in Denis, who's a former MMA fighter in himself and an accomplished coach. Head to the Fight Factory's website, thefightfactory.com.au, for all the latest and greatest in MMA, sports and apparel. Head to their Facebook page, The Fight Factory Australia, for all the recent news in the MMA world that's circulating the web. So strap in and I hope you enjoy.
Bucka. You know the deal.
I might post on that now. We are live. We've got Jordan Lucas and Denis from Nemesis. And I just want to start off with saying I've got a huge problem with having too many tabs open on my laptop. Anyway, so you've just got some news, Jordan, that you can't talk too much about, but it's involving...
Yeah, I'm having a baby.
Congratulations.
Nah, yeah, can't. You want to tell people, but
yeah,
sort of can't. Yeah, got to keep it quiet until it comes out.
So there's things to come.
Yeah, big matchup in the works.
That's for ONE FC, yeah?
Yeah.
How did that all come about, and at what point did they come to you and approach you, and what point did you feel that you felt you were ready to take that next step to step up into like a major organisation, like something like ONE FC?
Last year, I think I had about 5 professional fights, and then Denis, my coach here, organised me to do the Brace 2014 tournament.
Yep. And was that a round robin, was it? No, it was a knockout tournament.
Yeah, it was an 8-man tournament, so they had some of the best guys in Australia.
Yep.
And my first fight there was with a guy, Richie Ivory.
Yep. He's an Irish guy?
Yeah, back then didn't know much about him. I just knew he was a good grappler. And then, 3 fights later, I won the title. And pretty much Kaya Pate, the promoter of Brace, he had him and ONE FC were somehow linked. And, around Christmas time, a week before my birthday, they offered me a 6-fight contract.
Shit.
So, it's pretty exciting.
It's pretty cool. And where did it all start for you? Because I know you used to play football.
Yeah.
It was for West Preston, I'm pretty sure. Because a lot of people, no one would know, but me and Jordan actually went to high school together years ago at Parade. And then, did you leave early?
Yeah, I left in year 8. I got a scholarship to Thornbury High.
Yeah.
Really, no, I was never good at school. Didn't like it too much, and played footy when I was younger. My uncle was a boxer, so I did a bit of boxing when I was around 12.
Yep.
Every week while footy season was going on, and it was a good stress reliever as a angry kid.
Yeah.
It's always good to let it out. My parents used to just drop me there and leave me there for 3 hours, and come home, go to bed. But one of my friends, Adam Esposito, who I went to school with, one of my good mates, wanted someone to come into the gym with. We found Nemesis online, and there were obviously good things with Denis and my other Muay Thai coach, Phil Lai. And one night went in and loved it, man. Fell in love with the sport. I could sort of see myself doing it a bit, and annoyed my coaches.
Yeah.
I want to fight. I wasn't ready back then, but they can't tell you that.
No.
But when I was ready, they got me a first fight, and now here we are.
What I found, especially in Australia, a lot of people that get into MMA, they generally start using it as like a supplement for like pre-season fitness. That's how I started with boxing. I was never that good at footy, but I was going down to the boxing gym to try and stay fit, and in the meantime learn how to fight. And you eventually just end up ditching footy.
Yeah.
Because you train for, you start fighting, you train for 3 months for a fight, and then you go to footy training. You just, in practice, you'll jar your finger, and you've fucked the whole 3 months. But
it's funny. Because footy, everyone loved footy. Footy was, I always wanted to be in the AFL, all this stuff, but I was too small, so
Yeah.
it was never going anywhere. And then I was doing the mixed martial arts for, I think I was doing that 3 days a week, footy twice a week.
Yeah.
And then one night after work, I just turned to my mum and dad and said, I want to quit footy and I want to train full time, 5 to 6 days a week. And yeah, they weren't too happy about it. They thought I'd get hurt, but I got injured more in playing footy than I have fighting. You know, and not many people realise that. They think that everyone's barbarians.
That's right.
Locked in a cage, but I honestly hurt myself more in football.
And I find that a lot of the people who are more attracted to fighting, they generally don't need that whole team mentality. It's one thing I pick up from a lot of football clubs is that on their own, they're sort of that whole group mentality, if you know what I mean. Where a lot of they wouldn't be able to find the confidence to step into the ring or things like that. It's a whole different game.
Yeah, the thing I love about footy is you can play a game and you can lose by a point.
Exactly.
And then you can look at the game and think, oh, well, that guy missed that goal. It's his fault.
Mm.
You know,
That's right.
What'd you make us lose for? That's your fault. That's not mine. I played good. With fighting, it's you. You know, if you lose, it's your fault. It's your mistake. But I think fighting, without your team, you wouldn't be able to get there. You know, so.
And with fighting, in both winning and losing, they're two extremes in comparison to team sports. You know, you win a fight, you're on top of the world. You've just done it all by yourself. You know, with the help of your team and whatnot. But you've just beaten someone one-on-one. And then if you lose, you're not just losing because they scored more points than you, or you know they shot the ball in the basket more times than you. You've likely got your ass kicked, and it's somewhat humiliating. Even though you know never to be embarrassed by losing, but it's always you can't help but feel that.
Yeah.
Because there's always, you know, especially in front of the crowd, crowds get bigger. Some of the fights, even that I was involved in amateur-wise, there'd be 500 people there, and it's just amateur boxing. You know what I mean? It's a daunting thing. It's why anyone who gets in, you got to have an element of respect for.
Yeah, sure.
Anyone who gets in the ring. Yeah. What about you, Dennis? Where did it all start for you?
Well, I've been involved in with martial arts since I think I first started training karate.
You would have to be one of the most well-rounded and well-trained coaches in Melbourne, if not Australia, I reckon. I was looking at your background before.
Yeah, well, I've been involved in it for a long time. So I've been pretty much since started off doing karate in around 1993.
Yep.
And just around the same time as that, I sort of saw the first UFC, the first sort of reports of the UFC. So then, gradually did a bit of everything over the years. So I did most of my jiu-jitsu training in London at the Carlson Gracie Club.
Oh, cool.
And that's where I had my first sort of amateur MMA kind of competitions and stuff like that over there as well. So, but yeah, I've been pretty much seen the sport right from the beginnings, right from day one, and been around through like all the different changes it's gone through and stuff. So trying to pass that on to all the students that come to train with me now.
Having been around from the start is a big thing as well. Like a lot of people that get started now, they've seen the glamour of the UFC, and it's a a worldwide sport now. But back in the early 90s, it was like it was minuscule really compared to what it is today.
Nobody really knew about it back then. Like, even a lot of the people who trained in it, they didn't really, because it wasn't easy to actually watch MMA events. So it's like you needed to go to a martial arts shop and buy it on VHS and all that kind of stuff.
Well, because even UFC 1 wasn't even available on VHS.
Not for like a good maybe like a year or two after it happened. So so it's a different, like right now if a fight happens, in Las Vegas, you can watch it straight away. You can watch it on the internet the next day or whatever. So
it's almost like there's so much access now. It's half my newsfeed, following all these fight pages, and I can't, if the fights are on and I'm not watching it live, I have to stay off Facebook. So that it doesn't ruin my whole day.
And there's almost too many fights now to keep track of. Whereas I'd say up until about maybe 2002, 2003. If you were an MMA fan, you'd pretty much seen every fight that had happened up until that date. So you'd seen all the UFCs, you'd seen all of the Prides, you'd seen all of the Shooto fights, you'd seen most of the fights that happened in Brazil. If there was like one fight that someone hadn't seen, then you'd find a way to watch it. Whereas now there's like, unless there's a really good UFC card, you're probably not going to bother watching it because there's just too many fights to keep track of.
That's right.
So.
Even it's getting. I'm happy with how many fights there are because it's pretty much all I watch.
Yeah.
I don't really watch anything else. But then you hear complaints of a lot of people saying how the sport's becoming watered down, and especially with like the UFC's huge Fox deal, they've got fights on all the time there, and they're not really even like maybe 4 years ago, the jam-packed cards that there used to be.
Yeah,
things like when every fight on the main card was like could headline these days.
Yeah.
It's getting a bit like that. That's right. What do you think of did you end up getting tickets to the UFC Melbourne?
Nah,
No.
I didn't get them.
No. What do you reckon of the card?
It's hard to say. I think it's a good card,
Yeah.
being a fan of the sport, but I think other people sort of think two girl fights is the main event. It might be a bit boring. I think people were a bit more excited for the Robbie Lawler.
Yeah.
And was it Condit?
Condit, yeah.
Yeah,
I was a bit disappointed when that
would have
got
been
scratched.
awesome, man.
That would be one of the fights of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Those two warriors. But for the fan, being able to watch Ronda Rousey live it's almost like a once in a lifetime thing.
I like the other girl.
Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She's a
Yeah.
beast.
She's a machine.
I haven't seen much of the girl she's fighting, but
That Carla Esparza girl, she's supposed to be like an amazing fighter. No,
supposed to be a
she
gun
hasn't
wrestler.
lost in ages,
Yeah.
Invicta champion, everyone she fought. And then when that fight got lined up with her, I just thought, it's one of those people you think, yeah, she's going to win it, just watching it. And then when I updated my news feed on Facebook, she's
beat the fuck out of her.
Yeah, man, she
pretty
got-
easily as well.
She's got some serious Muay Thai.
All the takedowns and
She's a 6-time Muay Thai world champion.
yeah.
even the other girl, she smashed her up as well.
Yeah. There's a new one. Is it Juliana Pena? She's coming up the ranks. She's not bad.
Yeah.
She's doing well. But I still can't see anyone getting too close, especially because in the last year, even, her takedown defense is just going to be improving because no one's going to catch up to her Muay Thai.
What's her ground? Do you know? Has she gone to the ground yet?
In that one, she didn't go to the ground.
Yeah.
She was just easily defending the takedowns and then smashing.
Even if it did, it wasn't for long, yeah.
Yeah.
just
Seems to
getting
work.
straight back up again.
She's a beast. But Uriah Hall just got added to the card, fighting Robert Whittaker.
Yeah.
That's a tough fight.
Especially after that, it's a tough fight for... Or I think if Whittaker can weather the storm early, because Whittaker's just gone... He's pretty strong. He was fighting at welterweight, but I think this is either his first or his second fight up at third at middleweight, is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
The last guy, he knocked out, what's his name? Whittaker, the last guy he knocked out.
I don't know. Check that who.
Kiwi, is he Kiwi dude? No, Hawaiian. The Hawaiian guy.
Can't remember. But you're right, Hall. That spinning back kick
Yeah.
landed in his last fight against Gegard Mousasi. That was pretty lucky. He was getting beaten pretty easy up to then. Mousasi was just taking him down and just controlling him on the ground. I think if he's another one of those guys that's just got that freak athleticism.
If they hit you with something,
Yeah.
you don't
Like,
see it coming.
When he was on I watched that season of the Ultimate Fighter, and he was just murking dudes on that. He was like spinning wheel kicks and shit, knocking people unconscious.
Until that's the one. Yeah.
Brad Tavares.
He's no joke.
Yeah,
that
man.
guy, he's good.
Yeah.
Brad Tavares. He's a big guy as well.
Did you say the KO?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did.
It's huge.
I saw him when I went and fought when I went and watched the UFC when it was in Sydney last as well, when Rockhold fought Bisping. That card, every fight was a stoppage, and it was the first one since like over 100 cards or something like that, since every fight was a stoppage. That was not bad. Got good seats there.
Can you see much when you go to them?
Yeah.
Or is it better just to watch them on TV?
Oh, it's definitely, you see the fight better, watch it on TV, but the one of the coolest parts about being there is when Ally Quinta was fighting and Matt Serra was there, and where we were sitting, Matt Serra and Ray Longo were walking right past right past us. Everyone was like, no one cared about Ally Quinta. Everyone's just yelling out at Matt, and he's just like waving at the crowd, putting shuckers up and stuff. It was awesome, and you can hear him yelling out. His voice is so loud and pounding. But it's the atmosphere that you go for. It's, even the Rousey fight, I think that's just going to be. If Holly Holm's a legit boxer, but if she can't land some shots early, it's going to be done. I'd give it the first round. I don't reckon it'll go past the first round.
It just seems that everyone that she fights, she makes them look really bad.
Holly Holm hasn't been training in MMA for too long as well.
No.
It's like maybe 2 years or 3 years, something like that. So
she trains. She does train at Greg Jackson's though, so she'd be getting. And you see her train like doing pads and shit with John Jones, and so she be
maybe if she can do like the sort of annoying running around thing that Clay Guida does, to tire people out. But other than that,
I think Ronda's gonna, because Ronda's got some not bad boxing on her. Like her trainer Edwin, whatever his last name is, he's Vic Darchinyan's trainer. Yeah, Vic Darchinyan's the Australian boxer, and he's a legend. So her hands are getting better and better every fight. But, I don't know.
Yeah, but it might be like a big mistake for her to try to mix up boxing with this girl as well, because that's going to play into her hands.
It's almost like she'll do it trying to prove that she can mix it up with the best strikers in the division. But, man, imagine if Ronda got beaten and you were there for it. That's one of the reasons why I'm excited about going as well. Yeah, you're there. She got beaten. There's everyone, most dominant athlete in the world.
You want to see the champ fall?
Yeah, I'll be going. Holly Holm seems cool. I don't know about that ad. Have you seen that ad that the UFC ran?
Nah.
Where it's them when they're little girls and they're starting.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
That's
cool.
Ronda's sister.
Yeah, Ronda's sister played like the teenage Ronda.
Was it? I thought it was just on Ronda. Was it? Did they do one for Holly?
They did one for Holly as well. Where there's like this young girl who's got a black eye going to school and shit.
Have you seen it?
No,
I haven't seen it. Shit.
It was so corny. It was so shit.
A few people on my Facebook were loving it. They're like, "Oh, this is really awesome."
Nah, maybe for some. Nah. What's the when it comes to the ONE FC? Because I noticed I remember seeing you fight live in the AFC ones, and you come out with the Hannibal Lecter mask.
Yeah.
Have you got any ideas for when you do make your ONE FC debut, for any extravagant entrances or anything like that?
Nah, not really. I think the reason I came out with the Hannibal mask was the opponent I was fighting. He was just a shit talker.
Yeah.
Literally for months leading up to the fight, it was just talking shit. And I just thought it'd be funny if he looked at the big screen and saw me walking out with a mask. It just would have pissed him off, which I think it worked. He didn't look too impressed, but yeah, that was just for that one I done it.
Oh, okay.
It was funny. One of the guys actually backstage, as I put it on, he goes, "Fuck, are you fighting with that on?" Asked us,
when you were walking out,
and asked if we were fighting with it on.
Just a fan. A guy that was just there watching.
One of the trainers.
Trainer,
he was. And it's a bit weird because you'd think.
I think he felt like, this guy's got a broken jaw or something. Like a special frame on over it to stop him from getting hit.
It was a tripper.
Yeah.
But nah, I'll probably just come out normal.
Are you going to keep your song?
Yeah, I got Bad Boy for Life.
That's such a dope entrance song.
I got one of my good mates growing up to remix it for me.
Oh, cool.
So it sort of chucks my name and stuff in there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that if they got like a copyright sort of thing on it though, because
maybe
it's got no swear words in it though, so I should be alright. I think you gotta get the approval of the song first.
Yeah, well that's true. Especially if they're going to be selling the like the pay-per-view and things like that. That's when people can get sued.
Yeah.
So when it comes to in the past with your fights, when it comes to fight prep, how far out from the fight do you start your camp? Because there's especially in the mixed martial arts, boxing and things like that, it's pretty well established what you need to do to prepare for a fight, especially because there's nowhere near as many variables that need to come into account. You need to do your road work and your sparring and then your technique. But when it comes to MMA, there's you got to do your wrestling, your jiu-jitsu, your Muay Thai. How do you organise all of that coming into each fight?
Well, training wise, like this year I had a bit of a setback with the broken ankle, but
that's right.
Usually I'm always in the gym
Yeah.
most nights anyway, so I've been in the gym flat out for the last 6 weeks probably, so I work full time.
Yeah.
So usually I take time off work, so usually about 8 weeks out you start the training. I'll take a time off work, train twice a day. I'm lucky I train at a good gym in Nemesis, so
Yeah.
they've got all the timetable down pat. Like my coaches have been around for that long now, they know what works.
Yeah.
So yeah, or most nights I have jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, some nights wrestling, but most of the time I'm always doing jiu-jitsu, some sort of sparring. So yeah, we've got it pretty down pat, and it's worked in my last sort of fight. So yeah.
How did you break your ankle?
Oh, fucking not even anything to do with fighting.
It's not
And
even glamorous.
I was doing paintballing. So my 21st birthday, one of my best mates bought me a voucher to go paintballing with him. And yeah, I was like, all right, why not? We'll go. And we had a team with all girls on our team.
Yeah.
And the other team had they were serious, man. They had this big guy with camouflaged fucking clothes on, feathers running off him. And the whole time, they just kept shooting us, winning. So I thought I had to step up, and I went for a 50-meter dash with my gun, and I stepped in a pothole.
Oh, what the fuck?
And earlier on that game, they say you're not allowed to shoot from within 8 meters.
Yeah.
And there was a guy that ran around the corner from me. And instinct, I shit myself, so I shot him. And I got him good, but he was going to do the same to me. And then when I stepped in the pothole, I was on the floor, and I thought, oh, fuck, I tried to get up.
Yeah.
Couldn't walk on it, and it would have been the same guy 100%. I was just getting shot at.
Oh.
And they were hitting me everywhere. They were screaming out, stop. But yeah, that's pretty much how I broke my ankle, and it put me out a fair bit.
Yeah. It's
So
like
it
when
was
you
good.
it's like when you got a nice shiner on you now, but it's like I always remember all the injuries
Don't know what you're talking about.
never even come from like sparring. They're never that glamorous. You'll drop something, it'll hit you in the eye, and you go to work. Everyone's like, how'd you do that? That's like, and because they know you do fighting, so you can just run with it.
Yeah.
Get it.
So something you said about the difference between preparation for boxing and MMA as well. It's
Yeah.
like I think a lot of people don't really realize as well, is because with boxing, it's like because the sport's been around for so long,
Yeah.
so people really know how to prepare for it, and it doesn't really change too much.
Yep.
So what you boxing fights these days are sort of pretty similar to the way they were 30 years ago.
That's right.
Whereas the MMA is a sport that's like continually evolving all the time.
Mm.
So what people, when I first started watching it, people used to believe that kicks to the head wouldn't work, so it's a waste of time practicing them. They didn't believe like a lot of other sort of things. Boxing, for example, wouldn't really work too well because wrestlers would just get close to you and take you on.
Mm.
So I think MMA is a sport where really, if you want to be good at it in 10 years, if you want to be the champion in 10 years time, you can't really just do the training that's going to allow you to win fights these days. You have to be like thinking in advance, like adding new skills to your arsenal all the time. So it's like it's not really enough to just train 6 weeks out when you've got a fight. You got to be training year round because you've got to be constantly improving yourself all the time.
Conor McGregor said it well, upgrading your software without damaging your hardware.
Yeah.
With things like even things like sparring. What are your thoughts on sparring, especially in fight camp? How much emphasis do you put on that?
Well, we like put a lot of emphasis on sparring, but not really in the same way that they do in boxing. So I think in boxing, the emphasis on sparring is just like really banging yourself, like hitting each other as hard as you can, so you get used to the fight. Whereas we sort of see it as more like the way that they do with traditional martial arts, where it's sort of you're using sparring to improve your skills and get used to different sort of situations and stuff like that. So it's a lot of sparring, but not
more tactical sparring.
Yeah, more tactical sparring and more like using it to improve yourself rather than although we do sometimes do a lot of like simulating what the fight's going to be like as well, but it's more just trying to constantly improve yourself so that you're better. You're a better fighter this week than where you were last week, and keep going like that.
That's one, not necessarily problem that I have, but an observation I'm starting to make from when I was in amateur boxing. You'd spar twice a week, every week, whether you're fighting or not. and they were often hard spars, especially where I was from at Brizzy Brothers. That was often like the center. Like a lot of people would come there, so you never you never know you never knew when you were sparring.
Yeah.
You never knew who you were going to spar, and it was a bit of like a defending your turf type of mentality, which is wrong now that I look at it, because you're trying to.
It's my house.
Yeah, it's right. It's hammer and tong, trying to not necessarily impress, but not go down in your gym. And then looking back now, how you have so many more wars in the gym than you do. Like the fights are easy.
Yeah,
fights are often easy. And then another thing I've started to notice is people will fight. They'll and then the next Tuesday, say fights are on Sunday, Tuesday they'll be sparring again. They never give their
body time to recover.
And in your brain, man. Like one thing with me becoming sort of a bit more educated in it all, how it's literally trauma. You sparring and copping shots at the head is literally brain trauma.
And I think a lot of people, especially from what I've seen when I was training in America as well, people that come from more like wrestling or jiu-jitsu backgrounds that don't really have like they don't have much experience with like say striking or traditional martial arts, that their main thing is you spar just so you get used to getting hit hard, you get used to hitting other people hard. But like in my experience, getting hit hard in the gym by your training partner isn't the same as getting hit hard in a real fight in front of however many hundred people. So it's not something you can prepare for. So it's not really.
It's a completely different animal.
Yeah,
and for one, you got to. That's where it's important that you're training at a good camp and with trainers who know what they're doing, and it's different amongst everything. I mean, a lot of people have all different scenarios and strategies involving it.
Yeah.
Some people need to spar. Some people need to feel confident. They need to have sparred, a good few times a week for a few weeks coming into a fight. To feel like they've got their timing, and it is important. But I think when you get to a certain level, that timing doesn't really leave you within a certain time period.
Nah. I think you can still probably maintain the timing even by doing pad work and different things like that as well. So it's not really, it's not really going to leave you. But it's I think it's more to do with the mental side of it. People have thought like, I have to spar hard so I'm mentally ready for the fight, and then if they don't do it, then they feel like they're missing something. So it's probably more to do with that.
It's a psychological thing, which is so important coming into a fight.
It's like if someone has a bad sparring session,
and
then they don't want to fight. Like it's like, all right, I had one bad day, I'm not ready for the fight.
I was like that. I used to, especially when I was younger. When you're younger and you're a bit more immature, you can't really control your emotions. I'd come out of sparring sessions crying, not because I got beaten, but just because you get so frustrated with yourself. And that's probably one of the worst things that you can do, especially if it's like the week before a fight and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's like because what we try to do as well a lot is like do lineups. So you spar like a lot of different people one after another, but you sort of have to be careful how you run it. Because if you can see the guys just getting bashed round after round after round, it's going to be too demoralizing for them. So you want it to be sort of at the point where it's like it's real challenging, but it's they're not gonna just give up.
And it's important to having good training partners. That you trust one another and that you're not trying to hurt each other. That was one of the problems when people coming from gyms, from outside your gym. It was like they were events in themselves. But it's all different.
Because that's what some people will come down and spar and they just think, all right, let's see, I'll go against this guy. They come out, you don't know who they are, so
that's right. And especially
these aren't really mates, these aren't really training partners. So.
And especially if someone's got a bit of a name in the sport, everyone's sort of out to get them. That's one thing I like that did attract me to like jiu-jitsu outside of when I stopped boxing, was that you can go hard and you don't really have to worry about all the brain trauma and things like brain trauma is such a negative connotation. Like it's probably not the best word, but just I don't know.
You just get cauliflower ears now.
You can definitely still get messed up. Like I've just had 4 months off from a slipped disc, so you can still get pretty damaged. But anyway, so back to training camp. How much emphasis do you put on your conditioning in say, in contrast to, and this is like from a coaching perspective and a fighter's perspective, how much emphasis do you put on your conditioning as an athlete in comparison to like your individual skills and game plan, things like that?
Well, you said a funny one last fight that like you see the guys pushing the sleds and that. What would you say about that if they need help? Something about that.
Someone needs help pushing the car outside the.
If your car breaks down after the fight, that's.
So that obviously, Dennis, you would rather place more emphasis on the skills, different martial arts skills, rather than the actual conditioning.
Well, I think what we try to do a lot of is try to do the conditioning as like part of the skills training.
Yeah,
so just doing a lot of conditioning, but maybe doing like a lot of it is while you're doing relevant things like picking up a grappling dummy and throwing it and that kind of thing, because that's like more similar to what you're actually going to be doing in the fight. Whereas a lot of things are, they're not really anyway similar to movements you're going to be doing in a fight. So it's hard to see where they transfer over.
So things like pushing weights, just your traditional bench press, things like that. You don't see much relevance with that sort of stuff.
Well, I would say it's like there probably is. If you had like unlimited hours in the day, then there probably would be like a lot of benefits to doing it, and then you'd still need to go and like do it during, because I did like strength and conditioning course with the Australian
Institute.
Australian Institute of Strength and Conditioning. So basically a lot of what they do comes from like football teams and AFL teams and all that, but they've got like an off season and a pre-season and all that, which doesn't really happen with fighting sports too much. So I would say that the way I see it is like kind of going back to what I said earlier about how it's like a continuously evolving sport where for all the time that you're spending bench pressing, you could probably be using that time more usefully, like improving your boxing, improving your jiu-jitsu,
especially if you're still a young up-and-coming fighter.
Because it's not going to matter how good your bench press is if you can't keep your hands up and then you get knocked out like a couple of seconds into the round, then it doesn't make any difference. So.
And time, especially for someone like you, Geordie, works full time. You got to be as efficient as possible when it comes to your training, and even looking after your body. Things like doing too many weights, it can cause injury, I think. And then when you do things like sparring and pads and whatnot, they're sort of contrasting in a way the muscle movements.
Because at work all I do, like, I'm a renderer, so I'm lifting buckets, trailing on a wall all day, so it's pretty hard on your body as well.
That's a strength and conditioning
that's
in
why
itself.
it's good when I can take time off work when I have the fight.
How much time do you take off?
Usually 8 weeks.
Oh, really?
So it's a fair bit, but because I work for my missus' old man.
Oh, okay.
So he understands what I do. He knows.
That's cool. That helps.
He knows that this is my life, so...
If you dream.
Pretty much, go for it.
When it comes to... So you're contracted as a bantamweight.
Yeah, bantamweight fighter,
What do you walk around at, and how do you approach your weight cut? Which is another whole game in itself when it comes to the training camp.
So I walk around... Bantamweight, I have to be 61.2 kilos. So I walk around at about 71, 72. So about 11 kilos. Usually my diet, I've diet for about a month straight, but it's pretty... it sucks, man. It's the worst part about it. It's the worst part about it until you realise that, shit, I actually have to fight now. So then the fight's what's on your mind, but usually you're just real hungry. But I usually diet down to about 65, and then on the last day I'll cut the rest in water weight.
And then, so when you say diet, what would that entail? Like things like just cutting out carbs? Or
pretty much, you limit your carbs. So morning, egg whites, spinach, just spinach with everything. Yeah, man. Lunch and dinner, it's like 6 ounce of chicken, which isn't even the size of my palm, with spinach, more spinach. After training, I can have sort of whey protein, half a cup of oats. It's all like, if I do one thing wrong, I probably won't make weight. So if I think, fuck it, I have a cheeseburger after training today. I won't make weight. So.
And do you have a dietitian, or is this all just your own?
Nah, pretty much. I had that. I started off using that Dolce 3 weeks of shredded one. And that works pretty good.
Dolce diet. Yeah.
So yeah, I just adding my own things in now here and
Yeah.
there, but it's good. Yeah,
It's a whole nother science.
I could like, shit. Yeah, I'll move up to 66. I
Yeah.
won't cut as much weight, but to be honest, the next day I'll probably be in there with some monster. Like one of my training partners, Thomas Ruderman.
Yeah.
He made weight at 66 kilos, and if me and him stand next to each other,
Yeah.
he's huge, man. Like
Yeah.
He's about 90 kilos
he's
now.
about,
shit.
yeah, he's a big boy now. But even back then, like you stand next to each other, he flexes, his lats are out here, and I look like a
He's got all the tattoos, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's a cool looking guy.
yeah. Everyone loves him. Heads turn when you walk down the street. with
He'd
him,
be
that's
awesome
for
to
sure.
come on the podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he would have
some
loved
stories.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, far out.
With does that I think it might only be in Nevada or even America, but do you use an IV bag to rehydrate?
I have before. Yeah,
Yep.
I did it one fight, and
How do you find that works for you?
it was good. I felt
Yeah.
good straight away.
Yeah.
So usually it will take me 24 hours properly just to rehydrate. I do it alright. So I'll walk back in the cage at about 69 kilos.
Yep.
After I weighed in
Shit.
at 61. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty big. I'm a big bantamweight. I like to think I'm pretty big bantamweight.
Yeah, for sure. That's a
And,
lot of weight to put back on.
Pretty much, yeah. But the one time I did the IV, I instantly just felt good already. You know,
Yeah.
after I went to dinner, felt sweet.
Do you plan on using that method again?
It's hard because you have to have someone that knows how to do it.
Yeah.
So
You need to have like a medic or
Yeah.
like
And you need to do it
paramedic
properly.
sort of thing. Yeah.
and last time that's what happened. We had some connections in Canberra,
Mm.
and one of my friends had his mate there, and he came down and did it with his girlfriend for me. And they reckon people that they've done it to people that are on deathbeds,
Yeah.
and they reckon I'd soaked it up quicker than they do.
Yeah.
They couldn't believe it. I did 2 bags in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Usually it takes over half an hour, 40 minutes. I just smashed it.
And I remember reading that the IV bags are important because it rehydrates your body, but it rehydrates your brain quicker.
Yeah.
You cutting all that water weight, all the fluid around your brain actually diminishes as well. So when people cut these extreme amounts of weight, if they go into fight and they're not fully rehydrated, that's how they're more susceptible to things like concussions.
Knockout, yeah.
All the deaths in boxing have all happened in the lighter weights because the lighter weights generally cut more, and then the heavyweights don't. So that's why. That's where it's interesting how the Nevada Athletic Commission have banned the use of the IV bags.
Yeah.
Because fighters are going to cut weight, whether it's legal or not, or whether those bags are legal or not, and it almost puts the fighters in more danger not letting them use it. But I think the reason they did use it because of the huge crackdown on the performance enhancing drugs, something to do with the way the IV bag can mask something to do with something in your blood, where it can mask the plastics or whatnot.
Plastics.
Yeah, the plastics from performance, like EPO, shit like that. So yeah, it's all pretty interesting. But
Yeah.
It was funny when I did it. We probably should have picked the spot better. It was straight after Wayne's at it was a rugby club
yeah,
or something, and they had heaps of people there, full car park downstairs, and we had nowhere to do it. So we opened the car door of his thing, and that
Underground
literally
car park.
underground
Yeah.
car park. I had the IV in my arm. You know, I look like a junkie because
Yeah.
I'm 61 kilos. I got no cheeks
Yeah,
or
your
nothing.
face is all drawn out.
My eyes are all black. I got about 6 people around me, and everyone just saw like, what are these guys doing? And
Yeah.
I wanted to explain it to everyone, but I just thought, shit, don't worry about it.
just let them look.
Just let them think I'm a junkie.
Another cool thing that I think both of you guys, and it's probably how you got into it, Geordie, is the combat sambo, and how you actually went to Russia representing Australia. What was that like, and how did you even get involved in sambo?
We had a guy come down for a seminar, Andrew Mashinov.
Yep.
He was from Russia.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
from Russia, and he did all the techniques, and I was picking him up sort of straight away, and he just said to me, we didn't believe that I had no sambo background. I literally didn't even know what sambo was.
Yeah.
I knew what it was, but I didn't know about it, didn't know the rules. And yeah, he's
Because it's
got pretty
basically
interested.
MMA with a gi jacket, isn't it? And-
yeah,
and-
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. You got
And
to
with headbutts.
yeah.
Oh, headbutts.
Headbutts allowed.
Shit. You allowed to kick?
Yeah, you're allowed to
Yeah.
kick. You can soccer kick. Oh, you can knee on the floor and stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
It doesn't matter if you got a hand on the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much that guy hit us up saying that they need an Australian at 62 kilos to represent Australia, and I jumped on it.
Yeah, man.
I just thought, I've never done the sport before. I hadn't done much training in judo, not like these guys do. That's their bread and butter. But went to Russia. First up, I got it's funny, I was cutting weight the night before with a guy from Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, sick.
And he was pretty cool. He's an MMA fighter as well. And I thought, I hope I get matched up with this guy because he was an MMA fighter. He wasn't.
Yeah.
And I just looked at him and thought, you'd be all right to fight. I reckon I could beat you. But he was so nice. And he was already on weight. I still had a heap to cut. And he was telling me, I said, who's good in he was in the last year's one. And I go, who's good? You fought him. And he goes, the Russian guy, the former, he's 3 times world champion, something like that. Said he's a freak. And I just didn't think about it. I thought, all right, yeah, cool. And then the next day, that come up on the leaderboard, we were backstage, and it just said Jordan Lucas versus Russia. And my coach turned to me because Denis couldn't make that one. I went up with my Muay Thai coach Phil, and he said, you're versing the Russian. And I was like, fuck off, you serious? You lying? And I thought he was lying. He's like, I'm serious. And he was laughing, so I thought, nah, fuck it, you're talking shit. I'm fighting someone from India or something. And I looked at the board and it had the Russian, and I thought, you know what, I'm here. Fuck it, I'll just try to take his head off.
Fight the best.
I'll try to beat him, and he tried. He was knocking everyone out, this guy. And when I fought him, I dropped him with the right hand first up, and I had him hurt. And after that, he just used the gi jacket to throw me around.
Oh, okay.
So it was a different level straight out. As soon as he grabbed my gi, I had nothing for him. He's probably been doing that since he was 4 years old.
How old was he?
He wasn't much older than me. I think he would have been about 23, 24.
Yeah, just been doing it for years.
But yeah, as soon as he grabbed onto my gi, he was doing all crazy shit with it, and good on him. But he's one guy I'd love to fight in MMA. I want to get it. I want to get it back. If what was his name?
Call him out.
Yeah.
Imran Javidov. If you're out there somewhere, take the judo jacket off and we'll get down to business. But one FC.
Kurtka is what it's called.
Yeah, one FC have a few Russian guys in it, so
yeah, he'll probably end up there eventually.
Maybe he'll end up there, and that's something I'd love to get back.
Take the Fedor Emelianenko route.
Yeah.
Because he shot for double legs and he didn't get me down with it, so the only reason he got me down was because he was putting onto the jacket and using the jacket to get me down.
He's had more tricks in the Sambo world.
Even that, I was that's sort of like my first loss I ever had. Yeah. Sort of in a martial arts thing, and for me it didn't really matter. I was still happy with it. I thought, I'm here.
Yeah,
shit happens.
That's such a cool opportunity anyway. Like, you would have been silly not to take it.
Yeah, pretty much it was good.
What was Russia like? Because that would have been pretty
weird.
It
was. Everyone.
Where in Russia was it?
St. Petersburg.
Okay.
It was a really good place, really nice, but everyone there's just. You try smile at people, you say hello to them, and they don't give you anything. They just look at you like you're from a different planet.
We met these guys when we were in Hubin. We were traveling. When you said St. Petersburg, just reminded me of these Russians we met. We're getting picked up from this little shanty town in Cambodia.
Cambodia, yeah.
And we get in, and there's 2 Russians sitting there, a guy and a girl. It was whacked. Because there's heaps of opium around there. Yeah. They're just whacked out. And we go to them, they're both just like droopy eye looking at us. They're like, Russia? St. Petersburg? Moscow. Oh, you just saying St. Petersburg just fucking brought that. That's so irrelevant to what we're talking about. Sorry I said that. But yeah, that's...
We tried, me and my coach, we tried a couple of times. We played a game and we learned how to say hello beautiful in Russian, which was Privyet Kasivaya.
Yeah.
So every lady we was walking past, we'd be saying "Privyet, kasivaya," expecting a smile. I thought they were just looking at you, nodding their heads.
Yeah.
And these 2 grandmas walked past, and we were trying for 10 minutes. We got nothing. So this is it. I'm gonna win this one. I'm gonna get this. If someone said hello beautiful to my grandma in Australia, she'd like, oh, that's so nice of you. I said it to these two ladies, and they just gave me the blank look, and I thought, oh shit, that's the end of the game.
When I went to
I'm
Brazil,
not trying anymore.
all the locals were like just telling me the wrong. When we went to a bar, they were just telling me the wrong shit.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I was just they told me what the word for kiss me is, and it ended up translating to something like hold me and love me and just things like that. And they were using me as a so they'd come up and they'd take me, they'd introducing me to all these girls, and it took me about 15 minutes to find out they were just literally just like using me to go pick up the girls themselves, and then we'd just start talking in Portuguese, like look at this gringo, all this shit. No, have you been to Brazil?
Nah.
Is it something you plan on doing?
I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went there in when was it, 2005?
Yeah.
For a couple of weeks.
Were you
It was
training
pretty good.
jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I was actually trained at Brazilian top team when Nogueira brothers
Oh,
and
cool.
Mario Sperry,
Oh, yeah,
some of
see.
those other guys were there. So
Did you see his
Pretty
last? He was in that super fight with Ricardo Laborio.
yeah.
Did you catch that?
Yeah, I just seen like the clip of it. But yeah,
fucking
actually,
boring.
I think Ricardo Laborio used to train at Brazilian top team just before then as well.
Yeah. Well, he's at American top 10 now.
Yeah.
In America. Whereabouts is that in Brazil?
It's in Rio, and it's like right in the middle of a big sort of I think it's like a big sports complex that's owned by the bank, so like the Rio Bank or
Yeah.
something like that. So they've got like it's tennis courts and
Mm.
swimming pools, and then you like walk upstairs, and then you've got like there's a pretty big like matted room where
Yeah.
the Nogueira brothers and Bigfoot Silva was
Oh,
there
sick.
as well, and heaps of other guys. So
When-
they had like a lot of people from all over the world
Yeah.
training there.
When
so.
I went there, we spent most of our time in Petropolis, which is like about 45 minutes
Yeah.
out of Rio.
Yeah.
And that was the same sort of setup. It seems pretty common over there because it was in like a gym, had like a pool
Yeah.
and whatnot. Like and it had like matted area. We were training jiu-jitsu and there's people just pushing weights like right near us.
Yeah.
And it's just showing how much more mainstream it is over there, that it's just a part of like a gym membership to be able to train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Well, I think that was like maybe it's even something country club or something like that.
Yeah.
That one was called, but yeah, it was sort of inside a private sort of area. But then it was just like a lot of smaller jiu-jitsu clubs, which are just upstairs along the normal streets.
And they're all small, really, and there's huge numbers. So many people
Yeah,
train,
yeah.
but the mat space is, half the size of the majority of gyms in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And there's twice the. I was just amazed at how many black belts there were. It was like
there's
pretty
lots.
intimidating, really. You walk in there and there's just a murderer's row.
Yeah.
But when I went, I trained the majority in Petropolis, which was Gracie Petropolis, Breno Angelo. He's I think he's a 5th degree, something like that. He's a beast.
Yeah, I think it might be.
And then we did a session in Gracie Humaita, which is Holker Gracie,
Yeah.
and that was cool. Even like the women there, the women are just beasts.
Yeah. Well, I think what really stood out for me when I was there, because I think I was a blue belt at that time.
Mm.
Maybe, yeah, I think I was still a blue belt. But at a lot of the jiu-jitsu clubs, there would be blue belts who were. I suppose you could do that in Australia now as well. You could compete every weekend, but
Yeah.
in other countries it was rare. But for them in Brazil, they could compete every single weekend. There was
Yeah.
like a jiu-jitsu tournament. So there's some of the blue belts who were like had competed every week for like the last 3 years.
Yeah,
And they were just like amazingly technical. And then that's what the sort of surprising thing is, you'd have a tougher time rolling against the blue belts than you would against the black belts.
yeah,
Because the black belts they'd gone through the phase where they had competed every weekend,
yeah,
but now they've got like a full-time job, and they maybe
Yeah.
come in and train like once a week or once
for
every
sure.
2 weeks, and they're sort of past they're not really at the competitive stage.
and it's a bit of that defending their gym as well. Like
Yeah,
same rank
yeah.
comes in, they're gonna go hard.
Yeah, especially if it's because back then everybody wherever I went they thought I was American as well. So I
Yeah.
try to explain I'm not American, but I think because they thought I was American, they go harder against you.
Yeah.
And I try to explain it, but they didn't get it. So it was
When they found out we were
give up.
Australian, we were like a novelty to them.
Yeah.
They mustn't see many Australians.
Nah, really.
Yeah.
It was good though. I'll definitely plan on. We went and we stayed with Pedro Sau.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he might be on soon on this pod. He's coming to Melbourne, so we're going to try and get him on.
Oh, nice.
He's got so many stories. Like when
Yeah.
we live on the ranch where he grew up.
Yeah.
It was his grandfather's ranch, and he's like rebuilt it, and he's got this huge gym in there. And just every night, like lunch and dinner, he'd be sitting up the head of the table, and he'd just be running off all these old jiu-jitsu stories, like because he rolls with Hicks and Gracie.
Yeah,
Man.
and he cornered Hoist Gracie in the first
Yep.
UFC as well.
He was in the. I'm pretty sure he was in the. When they walk out and they've all got their
Yeah.
arms on each other's shoulders, he was in that run.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he was at the.
Maybe I'll do that next fight.
Yeah, true.
But there's just us two.
Yeah. The famous fight of because him and Hickson are like childhood friends, and we were so close to meeting Hickson at the time, but the surf was good, so he didn't come.
Yeah.
Like, that's how they were all describing him as a unicorn. You never knew where he was, when he was
Yeah.
going to turn up. He was like this majestic figure. But one day.
Yeah, we actually, when I was in America, we went to try just for one day to train at Hickson's school when it was in Los Angeles. But we went there, and he was actually. I don't think we were going to train anyway. We just went down to have a look.
Yeah.
But he wasn't there that day. But then we went back to the gym and told our other mate who didn't come along with us all these stories about like how we rolled with Hickson and he missed out on it. But he didn't miss anything.
He'd be a cool guy to meet. He'd be intense. I think he's always. I think he teaches at Cron School now. Cron Gracie.
Yeah.
He's my. Did you see his MMA debut?
Was that in Japan?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it did. Yeah.
I think it was just an armbar. I think it was pretty straight. He came out and he was fighting like Hoist. You know, like that front kick to the quad.
Yeah.
Front kick, and then shoot. But that was that's probably the coolest jiu-jitsu video on YouTube. Is the one where it's Eddie Bravo and Joe Rogan talking about his fight with Gary Tonin. You've seen that?
Okay. Yeah.
That was because I think he was only the third person to win Abu Dhabi and submit all his opponents behind Marcelo Garcia and Roger Gracie. So you sort of miss him now. Now he's not on the jiu-jitsu circuit, or he's not as prevalent in it. He's taken to MMA now. Where did you train when you went over to America?
So I trained at a place called Next Generation Jiu-Jitsu, which is a guy called Chris Brennan, and he's he was pretty much the first. He was actually one of the first American black belts, and he trained at the Gracie Academy with like Hoist and Corey and Gracie and all those. And then he was the first one to have no gi BJJ, so he kind of did it like quite a few years before Eddie Bravo. Yeah, and he actually trained quite a lot of big name guys have trained with him. So just before I was there, Quentin Jackson had been living there and training there. The guy who's can't remember his name now, but you know the guy who's I think he's bantamweight in the UFC, and he's got like a beard and. Brad McCall's Ian McCall,
So Uncle
Ian
Creepy,
McCall, and his brother Brad McCall, they were like training there, but Ian McCall was like just a young kid back then. So there's and there was like actually a lot of other like pretty much the guys who were just outside of UFC level back in those days. So that was 2002. And like King of the Cage kind of was the next showdown in America from that.
So for you, Geordie, is the UFC the ultimate goal? Or is it more with a lot of fighters, and it's starting to become a lot more prevalent now, where fighters are going to the paycheck because with things like the Reebok deal and whatnot, they can't get their own sponsors in the UFC. And then they're not paid overly well. So what's your mentality on that? Is the UFC, because it is still undoubtedly the top organisation?
Yeah, I think always for me it was always going to be out of UFC, one championship. Though they were my two main goals, and the money with ONE FC, it's good. So I'm pretty happy where I am at the moment.
Yeah, well, there's still plenty of time.
Yeah, I'm only 21 now, so I've got plenty of time in the sport. I'm just gonna go with it.
Yeah.
So whatever opportunity arose first, I was always gonna take it. But yeah, I'm happy at ONE FC now. I like the rule set as well.
Yep. What's different?
So it's pretty much our old school pride.
Okay.
Soccer kicks.
To
ground. Well, the technical kicks, that's what they call it. But Yeah, soccer kick there. It's pretty sweet. I like that sort of style. I always used to watch Pride as well, so
Yep.
it's much better. In the UFC, you know, they're playing games, putting hands on the floor.
Yeah.
In one championship, you do that, you just get kicked in the head.
Yeah, and it's sort of I'm not sure why they still have those rules really, because even things like the 12-6 elbow, there's a lot of silly rules.
Yeah.
That's illegal because when Nevada was initially doing the rule set for the original UFCs, the person responsible saw a karate guy breaking bricks with the 12-6 elbow.
Yeah.
So that's why they made the 12-6 elbow illegal.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
actually
that's
pretty
why it's
funny.
illegal. That's how ludicrous it is.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe like just having a rule to say you can't elbow people on the back of the head
Yeah,
would
that's
make more
fair.
sense.
Yeah, fair call.
Rather than
Because that's the only blemish on John Jones's record was when he fought Matt Hamill.
Yeah.
He got DQ'd for 12-6 elbows,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he fucked him up. Yeah, do you follow him on Instagram?
Matt Hamill just did the whole.
Yeah, true. Matt Hamill just fought Vinny Margalej, and he got knee barred. It was today, I think.
Really?
Yeah,
What show was that? World Series of Fighting.
World Series of Fighting. Vinny Margalej just beat.
Was he the one that lost to Phil Davis in the UFC?
I'm not sure. He got cut a while
Was he
ago.
in the UFC?
Yeah,
he was in the
was
UFC.
in one of the Ultimate Fighter shows, and he's
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu black
used to
belt.
fight in
Beast
Russia
jiu-jitsu.
a lot,
Yeah, he's like a world-class jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
fighter.
Yeah, I think Phil Davis beat him. There was a lot of trash talk.
Yeah, he's had a lot of problem
I
with.
didn't know he was fighting Matt Hamill.
Yeah, he beat him today. Knee bar.
Far out. What round?
I think it was the first.
Yeah, first round, minute in.
Shit. Yeah, he's a beast. It's like the leg lock game seems to be becoming a lot more like popular. Have you been watching the most recent Ultimate Fighter with Conor McGregor,
I haven't seen it yet, but
With,
that guy, what's his name?
Ryan Hall?
Ryan Hall,
Ryan
yeah.
Hall, man, he's just in the fights that get in the house, and I've only seen his first fight in the house, but he just dives on leg locks.
Yeah.
Like flying leg
I
lock
think
attacks.
he won two fights so far by leg
Yeah,
locks. I'm
for
pretty
heel
sure.
hooks.
Yeah,
He'll just dive
Far
for
out.
it. It's becoming a lot more popular, especially with the no-gi
yeah.
guys like Eddie Cummings and Gary Tonin. I think John Danaher in at Henzo Gracie in New York. Apparently he's the go-to guy
Yeah,
for leg locks, and even you see in like Abu Dhabi and whatnot.
yeah. Which is pretty strange because in jiu-jitsu they never used to encourage leg locks. They used to kind of look down on them and say
Yeah.
it was like a sort of a cheap move and
Yeah.
stuff. So
And
it's
then,
changed a lot.
especially someone like you's been training so long, you've seen the evolution of almost all the martial arts, things like jiu-jitsu and even the MMA. Like you see
Yeah.
now, guys like Wonderboy Thompson and even Sage Northcutt. If you see,
Yeah.
they got the real traditional sort of karate style
Yeah,
going on. He's a talent, that Sage.
yeah,
Sage
and that's
Northcutt.
pretty much stuff that people said would never work
Yeah.
at all. So it just it goes to show that you always got to be kind of training to improve yourself.
Yeah,
If you just look at what works now and train like that, that's probably
Yeah.
in a year or two that's going to be outdated. So.
you can't follow trends. You got to, yeah. What's interesting with that Sage Northcutt is how, and that front oblique kick's becoming a lot more popular amongst all those fighters. Like the point scoring karate.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, how long's that hoop?
About 59 minutes.
Shit.
Goes pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, was there anything else you wanted to talk about? Bring up? Any announcements? What?
I won't accidentally let it slip again.
Oh, what's where can everyone find you? Is it teamnemesis.com?
yeah. teamnemesis.com.au I think, or is it just teamnemesis.com? Can't even remember.
I don't know.
But yeah,
Team Nemesis.
just search it
Just
on
Google Team Nemesis.
Team
It should be
Nemesis.
the first one that comes up.
Thorn in Fairfield?
in Fairfield. Yeah,
Fairfield, Melbourne. Geordie Lucas. Where can they find you? Facebook page, whatnot.
Facebook, Jordan Showtime Lucas. Instagram, Geordie Showtime. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
Get on it.
look them up. Give them a like. Yeah, there'll be announcements. There's announcements coming soon. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for coming.
All right.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
Thanks for having us, guys.